Welcome to Wisdom Journey, the podcast where we explore the path of building an online business from the ground up. Here, I share my wins, struggles, lessons, and experiments so you can learn, adapt, and grow alongside me. I also interview experts in their respective field. Whether you're just starting out or looking for new strategies to scale, this is your space to find inspiration and practical wisdom. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to take you onto this journey. Welcome back to Wisdom Journey, the podcast for online builders who want to create meaningful brands that connect deeply with people. Today, we're diving into one of the most overlooked yet powerful foundations of success: clarity of positioning. How do you define who you serve, the pain you solve, and the unique promise that makes your brand irresistible, all on a single page? To help us unpack that, we're joined by Steven Donaldson, the co-founder and principal of Radiant Brands, a strategy and creative agency that has worked with iconic names like Apple, HP, West Fargo, and Dolby, as well as real estate projects and urban centers worldwide. With over 30 years of experience in branding and behavioral marketing, Steven believes that great brands aren't built by pushing sales, they are built by understanding people, culture, and human behavior. We explore how you can use these same principles to clarify your message, connect emotionally with your audience, and stand out in a crowded digital world. Welcome to the podcast, Steven.
Thank you so much, Wisdom.
Yeah, you've worked with some of the world's biggest brands, Apple, HP, Dolby. What's one lesson you've learned about clarity that even small online businesses can apply today?
You need to know as a brand what makes you special in the marketplace in relation to your customers and what they desire. Whether it's it's got to be more than printer ink for HP. It has to be a connection to the customer, what they're printing, where they're going with it, how they get the ink cartridges, what matters around that. And that is an important thing in terms of behavior and relationship in brands.
Well, what makes you special? My concern is that in today's day and age, once people notice that you're getting any form of traction in the digital world, right? They basically copy and rip off everything. Your sales page, your website, everything, right? They just copy word for word. They don't even get inspiration from and do their own thing, copy. And so before you know, you realize that you are 10 identical businesses like yours.
Right. And that can be a real challenge. And that's why you have to continually be adapting and looking at that behavior of customer and the relationship you have as the core. The social media comments that you get about your brand from your customer can guide you to build that connection and be authentic to them. It's easy to continue to do what you've done to get more sales. But as you said, copycats will come in and start morphing that and taking that. And you have to be ahead of them. It's harder work now than it's ever been because all brand relationships are 24/7. They don't exist statically.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about defining who you serve, the pain you solve, and unique promise, I feel understanding this deeply influence the action and the way a business approach certain decisions, right? How can we, as a small business, how can we go about doing that?
That positioning, it's really, it's a challenge, but it's also the most critical thing. There's three things that I always try to keep in mind. One is, what is your product? What is it yours? What is it, the item you're selling? And how can you keep it very unique and simple in terms of connecting with the customer? One or two words, something that creates that value for them and that uniqueness that they remember you. The simpler you keep it and the more connected to them, the better that value.
What is the product? Most persons don't even understand what the product is and they're selling. They think that they're selling one thing, but their customers is buying something else.
Yes, that happens a lot. And people get focused on sales numbers and volume and push more to get more. But that is a world that just brings you down to the mass marketing of all the other companies that you're competing against. That one step away from that allows you to be unique, creating that relationship, offering something unique, that builds value for your customer is the key, and having them know that they're getting something for it.
At the beginning of the episode, I started with this idea of having your brand positioning, who you are, what you do, and who are your customers on one page. And many business owners, they struggle to fit everything about their brand into one page. How can they simplify without losing depth or meaning?
That's a really good question. That's a challenge that big and small brands have. I think you have to look at several key components. What do you stand for in a sentence or two? What do you stand for? The big picture view of solving a problem, not just getting a customer a telephone, but getting them connected to others. Maybe that's what the value is you bring. So it's a relationship. And then how do you identify your customer base? Who are they? What value do they seek? And when you have those two things down, it then brings up what can you solve their problems with? What product or products that you can come up with will address those needs. And those three things can really be the foundation of building a great brand statement and keeping it really clear. One other thing I'll add to that is in that analysis, you really need to look at who your competitors are. What is someone doing now? Who else are they buying from? And how are you not like those competitors?
Wow. What makes you different from them?
Exactly. Unique.
Wow. A lot of business owners, they would they would they will argue to the contrary that their business is just too complex for them to put on the page, that you just don't understand. It's different. It's not like every other business. It's not like what's a very simple business to understand, like a restaurant, where you go to buy food, right? It's very clear. This is, you buy food, that's what you buy there. Right? They're like, oh no, we sell this for this. And sometimes why they're even describing their business, they're just using big words and it's flying over your head. And when you tell them to simplify, it's as though they're like, no, you won't understand. What's the word? Is it true that the business is too complex to simplify, or is it that they themselves don't even understand what their business is all about?
I don't think they understand what makes your business unique for the customer. And that's why customer interviews or talking to the customer really makes a huge difference in understanding what makes you different. Yeah. And if it's too complex, it's really not the right positioning statement. I mean, if you look at Apple, Apple really focuses on integrating all their technologies together, their iPhone, their laptops, the services they offer. So they want one thing that comes up with Apple is seamless. Everything is seamlessly connected in their environment. And they drive and strive for that with everything they build. So that one word can build that value around what you're doing. So thinking of things that way really becomes an important dynamic.
Wow. Okay. I think it does help to explain and bring it down to probably a little child of maybe 8 years old. That way, if they have no understanding using big words, it's good. It's great to be clear, not clever.
I agree. I have some grandkids that are like 8 and 5 years old, and I love to share ideas with them because they get it right away or they don't, and their enthusiasm shows clarity. And in some sense, we're all 8 years old in our reactions to things we love. When we watch Instagram and we look at all these short things that catch our attention, it's the unique things that connect us.
Yeah, I think one of such scenarios that I had was someone was explaining what they do, right? They were using all
Yeah.
those big words that I organize this blah 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 closet and all that, and I can't remember the exact words they used, but it was so big. It's a very big words, sound tushy and all that. And the best thing they were explaining to was like, so you're a maid, right? So you organize people closets, right? And
Yes.
and they got offensive, and I was like, wow. I was like, there's nothing to it. Like, despite all the big words you use, you do all this stuff, you organize closets, and in simple terms, that's what you do, and it's easy to understand, right? And for most persons, they don't, probably they're lying to themselves, or they're trying to run away from what they do. They don't even understand what they do.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I would say somebody who helps organize your closet, it's like bringing somebody in who brings clarity to the way you present yourself in life.
Yeah.
Your clothes, it's now really clear, and that empowers you to be more successful.
Yeah.
So that's what I would be saying to somebody who's a closet organizer is you bring that value to them, not just organizing the closet. You bring them the value of being a better looking and more organized person in the world.
Yeah. Well, uh, one of the statements you make is you say that the power of branding lies in connection, not in pushing sales. And I see that we started the episode talking about knowing your customer. And you see
Yes.
there are certain brands that when they reach out to you, when they talk to you, it's as though there's this parasocial relationship. It's like they get you, they know you, right? It's like you've been friends for a long
Yes.
time. How do we go about creating this kind of a connection as a brand, as a business?
Well, that depends on the scale and size of your business and what you're selling.
Okay.
But really, the key to it is understanding who your customers are, and they can vary in age, whether they're men or women or young or old, as I mentioned, age. And when you start understanding your customers and seeing why they're buying from you, doing customer surveys, engaging with them. It could be as simple as in a restaurant asking people, why do they come back? When you start finding this out, it then allows you to tailor the experience you bring to the customer to their needs, to what they want. And what I always say is surprise and delight is the key. So when you understand your customers, you can go a step further in offering something to them, which surprises and delights to them, and that brings incredible loyalty. Because people always are amazed when they get more than they ask for. When they get something that adds to what they've already purchased. And that connection allows you to know who they are more. And
Hey, quick break. Before we continue, I'd love for you to join the Wisdom Journey newsletter. Every week, I share exclusive insights, tools, and behind-the-scenes updates to help you stay ahead in your own journey of building an online business. It's simple, practical, and built to help you grow. Sign up today for free at the link in the description. Now, let's get back to the episode.
and they end up loving the brand and loving your products.
Yeah. Well, from working with businesses and brands, what are some of the mistakes you see them making when they're trying to connect with their audience and customers?
Oh, interesting things. I can give you an example in the United States that got a lot of media attention. There's a restaurant brand called Cracker Barrel, and it's been around for over 70 years, and it's from the South, and it has a logo that has an older man leaning on a large barrel with a letter type coming off of it. And the people who go to those restaurants, uh, they're a chain of restaurants. They're right in the middle of, they're not very expensive. They're family oriented.
Yeah.
They hired a big branding agency to redo the identity of the company. And what they did is they took out the character and the part of the brand that everyone identified with. That caused a social media explosion where people were complaining, infuriated. The stock of the company dropped, and they went right back to the other logo. And
Yeah.
they ended up terminating the branding firm, and they let go of the head of marketing and rebranding. They didn't pay attention to what the customers valued. And these things can be subtle, but they're extremely important.
Now that you mention it, I'm like it's for me as someone who's not even in the branding agency, it seems obvious that such a branding agency as big as they have to be working with such a client, they should have beta test it with some of the select group of their customers instead of rolling it out generally.
Exactly. Exactly. And I've read a bit more about how they kind of made a misstep there. Yes.
Well, thanks for sharing that
Sure.
example. Yeah. Well, connecting with the customers and the audience. I feel that how do I say it now? Usually when people talk about connection, it's an afterthought, right? It's not like it doesn't control everything that the business or the brand does, right? You see, certain
Right.
businesses from the very beginning, you know that they care about you, right? From the way they reach out to you, the message, the cancellations, everything. Why some others is
Yes.
just like let it not look as though we don't care about our customers. It's like let's just check the box.
Yeah. Well, I mean, many companies do that, particularly when they're more of a commodity, and
Yeah,
that is, there are many options to get, and they just look at you as another option to get, and they'll offer you deals, reduced pricing, to purchase things, but they don't really spend time understanding the value they bring.
yeah.
So
You've mentioned design thinking. I love that concept as a way to shape consumer experiences. That's a new concept for a lot of persons. For listeners who are new to this idea, what exactly is design thinking and how does it change the way we build brands?
that is a great question. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
We've really
thank you.
adopted that over the last 10 years of our work. There's sort of three pillars of what we do. We call behavioral marketing, that is understanding consumers and who they are, identifying them, their desires. And then design thinking kind of matches to that because design thinking comes from beginning at the beginning to taking a look at what are you conveying to the customer, what are you bringing to them, how do you connect with them in the beginning and understand in a way that you develop a product or a brand what matters to them. So that empathy or that connection gives you input on what they value and what they're looking for. And so you can structure that into how you design your marketing program, the actual brand itself, what words you're using to attract people, and then you can test it and see if it's connecting and if it's working with them. And then that brings us full circle between uh, uh, experience marketing and design thinking and behavior. So customers and are getting what they want. It's not pounding them with sales. They're getting what was really designed for them.
Wow. Design thinking. Design thinking. Can you share with me an example where design thinking completely transformed the marketing campaign or brand experience you worked on?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me dive into my repertoire. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we worked with a pet products company that had we actually were designing their stores, interiors, and they're doing their advertising and branding. And the company is called Pet Food Express. They have like about 78 stores now. When we were working with them, uh, working on differentiating them from other pet product brands, because there was a lot of confusion in that market. We kept looking at what is it that really brings their brand alive for pet owners who come to buy things. And what we realized after talking to some customers and connecting with them is that they think of their pet as part of their family and their lifestyle. And so we changed all the signage in the store as though it was talking to their pet. All the advertising was really
Yeah.
more communicating with the pet owner's pet and had a casual, fun, and humorous kind of tone to it. And out of that, we just found out enormous amount of loyalty grew because we were engaging with what mattered to them, and
Yeah.
that evolved over time. We saw that when we were working with them after about 2 years.
Wow. Wow. I love that case study. Yeah. Wow. Design thinking. Wow. Uh, with today's technology driven, AI driven, fast paced market, how can brands stay consistent, with what the core value is without being static? A lot is changing, a lot is evolving.
Yeah, well, how do you stay current and not static with
How do
things
you
evolving?
we talked about going back to what the brand stands for, the brand message and all that, right? And so with things, with the
Yes.
world changing so fast, how can brands stay consistent to their brand message? Why not being static? So by static, I mean, they're not, they're evolving, they're also changing, they're adopting technologies and all the things that are changing, but they're still true to their core value and their core message. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it does.
Yeah.
And that is a challenging thing to do, because not all brands are technology savvy or easy to identify in the online world in the same experience level and way. So you have to come back to the core meaning or value of what you're bringing. If it's a food product, it has to be, why people love it and desire it and who that customer is. But you have to remember it's not just that product, it's the experience the customer's having. And you want to stay clear and consistent with that experience. And however you're presenting it, and constantly review what you're doing around that. I'm trying to think of something that would, really bring that home in terms of products and values that I see out there right now. Offhand, I don't see something that really I can identify quite that way, other than um, there is a brand here that we have not worked with, but it is a potato chip brand of all things called Kettle chips,
Yeah.
and they make a variety of potato chips. They stay pretty much strictly with potato chips, but they have a lot of different flavors. And what they do with their brand and their packaging is their marketing and their advertising. They constantly explain on the back of the package how they source their products, why their products are energy neutral, how they come up with the new flavors through customer engagement, and that why they're thinking of you all the time with what you see on the shelf.
Yeah.
So when you see something new for them, you think they're actually constantly trying to create new experiences for you. They're not just staying stagnant. They're jumping in there and coming up with new flavors and new ways of doing things, and they're telling you we align with your values. So
Yeah.
I think that's really important when a company can do that.
Well, earlier on you shared a story of a company that's rebranded rebranded a branding agency that rebranded a company, but everything backfired. Some businesses want to rebrand, and in certain instances, it's important to rebrand. But rebranding is something that if you're not careful, everything could just explode.
Yes.
What would be the methodology you would recommend we businesses use such that it doesn't backfire. Instead, it's oh, we did rebrand and now we're crushing it. Our business is better than ever. Our customers are super delighted and all that.
That's a really, really good question, because I think fundamentally before a company considers a rebrand, they need to look at three things: the competitive brands that are out there and how they're perceived, in terms of their products, the quality, and the association with the brand, the visual brand. And then when you've done that, you can then take the challenge up to look at rebranding. I'll give you an example in the car industry. Kia, the Korean car brand, um, they're a relatively newcomer in the global market, compared to, say, Toyota and a lot of American and European brands, and Japanese car brands. They rebranded their KIA with a very contemporary mark that is at first glance not easy to read. And what it did two things. It made everyone think that the new models of those cars were even more cutting edge,
Yeah.
more unique. And that's when they were also introducing their hybrid and their electric line cars. So it was a timing with the brand that gave consumers an awareness. We're right on the edge. We're like as competitive with all the other brands, coming up with different kinds of vehicles, hybrids and electrics, along with our gas powered vehicles. So that branding was a strategic marketing effort aligned with a business a business effort. And I think those kinds of things have to be thought of together. A brand is a signal that there's something new and there's something you need to pay attention to that's for you. And if that isn't included in the rebranding, customers are confused, they're angry, or they're disoriented about what's going on.
Well, one of the things I've noticed and that I'd like for you to talk about is with AI out there. AI it's dependent on the user. It depends on how the whoever is using it use it. That's what determines if it's a good tool or a bad tool, right? Um,
Yes,
the
exactly.
the reason I bring this up is because I've seen news covering certain businesses, right, that go about making and telling faking stories that they are family-owned businesses, that they are run by a grandma, and some of the kids have been passed down from generation to generation and stuff like that. And they fake these photos, the different realistic photos of the family together and all that. They tell all the stories and all that, and they get a lot of sales right now, even though later on when these customers realize that they've been scammed, they've been deceived, right? It's
Yes,
for me, it's the fact that these people understand these things, and they're manipulating people, right? Because they're lying basically.
exactly.
And the people that have these stories, they're not even telling it. That's just what is surprising me about it. The people that actually have these things, they don't tell the story as good as those who they don't have it.
Yeah, in other words, the deceivers are doing a better job of representing that story that's not authentic than the
Exactly.
authentic family
Yeah.
stories are. And that's not unusual because old family businesses that are generations old mostly focus on their product and what they're delivering to the customer. They don't see the value of the brand story in the same light as companies that are way bigger that are trying to manipulate behavior and get you to think that they're authentic.
Yeah. Oh. And I'm curious, right? With AI making a lot of improvements in the world and all that, how does AI fit into uh, the branding, into the scheme of things for your company?
Well, right now it's what we do with AI, various, I'd say, online language tools such as Perplexity, Claude, and ChatGPT is we use it primarily for research and uh, finding various things, and it's really important to look at what's out there when you're competing or putting together a brand strategy, and you can go into one or more of these AI models and ask, and it will provide you a lot of information that you can then double check on. So it speeds that up and gives you more resources. We occasionally use it to write some things, but we really are careful about that because you have to have it in an authentic voice, not a voice of an automated voice. You know what I mean? A voice
Yeah.
that's bringing together. Yeah. So that's the way we use it right now, and it's mostly for research, finding ideas, exploring different things.
Oh. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Uh. If an online business, just going back to the very beginning, if an online business were to start today with zero clarity, uh, what would be the one actionable step you recommend they take today?
An online business, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I would have I really believe in having uh, a really good presence on TikTok and Instagram. It can be extremely simple, but it's something that, when people are flipping through things, they see your brand and it connects back to what you're selling or your product line. And use, uh, I think it's important to have your products identified with a person or personality as much as possible because you're trying to be unique in a market that has got, say, hundreds of different products like yours. But if there's somebody that you're referring to or using or lifestyle imagery that represent it, it becomes more identifiable to the customer. So
Yeah,
those are the kind of things I think are really important now.
yeah. Wow. TikTok or Instagram. And I think the way they've made it, with the way all these social media platforms are basically copying each other. if you post, if you ever make a video for Instagram, you can still post it on TikTok without having to do an extra work.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the biggest issue you're bringing up is how we're all saturated with so much media and so many connections, not just locally, it's regionally, it's nationally, it's globally. And out of that, the consumer has to sort of segregate out what they want to look at and also limit what they see if they can.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you stand out as a product in that? Yeah, so that's why, you know, simple branding, simple color, clear word messaging that really pops out. Those are the keys. And
Yeah.
testing.
Yeah. Oh, I love the testing part. Very important because sometimes I think we go into businesses as though we know what we're doing, right? Even though we feel like, oh, this is the correct thing, but sometimes most of the time we're surprised, right? You're like, oh, this is what they should get. The customer is like, no, we don't like that. We don't even like that feature in the product. This is why we buy the product in the first place. I never use that thing. And you're like, so why? But I
Yeah.
was just spending time and energy in this thing. I didn't know they never cared about it. And I'm like, oh yeah. So you made it for yourself.
No, that is really true, I think. A lot of time there are these features that, well, you know, even Apple has done this on the Apple laptops that they made, MacBook Pro and MacBook Air prior to 2020. They had this bar at the top that was a little backlit thing that would represent different extra buttons you could use, and no one ever used it. So
Yeah.
they got rid of it. They changed a whole bunch of things. They simplified the computer. The next generation was simplified. And
Yeah.
I think what they did is they recognized the consumer wants certain key things and other things they don't want. And you have to adapt to that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Steven.
You're welcome.
Yeah. If listeners want to learn more about this whole branding idea and also work with your company, you've had an amazing successes with your different clients, and some of them you were kind enough to share with us, doing as an example, doing some of the talking points. Where can they connect and work with the company?
They can find us at radiantbrands.com. And then, you know, you can see what we do and who we are and our team and follow up with an email if they want to, info@radiantbrands.com, and we'll get back to them.
Oh, okay. I will add the link in the description so listeners can click and go directly to the site. Once again, thank you so much, Steven. It's been an
Thank you,
absolute delight
Wisdom. I
chatting with you.
appreciate this.
Yeah.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into Wisdom Journey. I hope today's episode gave you practical steps and fresh ideas to keep moving forward. If you found value, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with a fellow creator or entrepreneur who'd love to learn too. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and the link in the description for more resources, experiments, and lessons straight to your inbox. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep walking your own wisdom journey. Yeah.